renew, reconnect, live, laugh, in love, connections, dream, getaway experiences. Braveheart Workshops. Unique Getaways live with Jill Reynolds.
Live, the Connection Show. Restore, renew, reconnect with others. Sponsored by Braveheart Workshops. Live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me today is Mary Turner. Hi, Mary. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you, Jill?
I'm doing very, very well. So I'd like the audience to know that Mary is a licensed clinical social worker in the Springfield, Missouri area. And Mary, could you share with the audience a little bit about who you are, what your credentials are, and the type of work that you do in Springfield?
Sure. So as Jill said, I am a licensed clinical social worker. I'm also a substance abuse professional. I have a co-occurring disorder professional diplomat certification. I am also a civil and family mediation specialist and an adoption specialist. And I've spent about 30 years in the mental health, foster care, and substance abuse arena.
So those are some pretty good credentials. You do a lot there, Mary, a lot with a lot of different people. So tell us, if you wouldn't mind, maybe a little bit about your journey as a therapist and what you've seen maybe evolve over the years, because you've been in it for quite some time. And where do you see, maybe you can address to the audience with the pandemic. My show is, of course, is called The Connection Show. And so with connecting during the pandemic, can you share a little bit with our audience today what connection looks like in mental health arena right now? Because it's completely different than it was 3 months ago, and see how that is playing out, and then how you're seeing patients currently being able to adjust during this really difficult time.
So, in terms of what I've seen in the mental health arena over the years, it seems like there is not a ton of different presenting problems. People still come in with mental health issues related to depression and anxiety, some personality disorders, of course, but also substance abuse. And what I have seen is sort of patterns that have gone on and on in families that over time, a lot of that is affected by economic status or social status within an individual's environment. Certainly, there is a lot of more access to drugs, and drugs of choice have changed from, it's always been alcohol, always been marijuana, but along with that, of course, is the heavy prescription medications that can really tear families apart. And we all know that for every person that has a substance abuse problem, there's probably 10 other people whose lives have been affected. And it causes quite a bit of anxiety for the entire family. Plus, we have an older aging population. And as individuals are moving and transitioning from a working role that they have had, where they've had a career or some sort of employment, they're moving into retirement. Change of life issues have been really challenging. And I've seen a lot of families who are very, very concerned about the COVID-19 because of the older generation, and being very aware and concerned about how their loved ones are going to be safe during this time. Connection's probably been the hardest component for everybody to manage. We love to go out to eat. Everyone loves to go out and eat. Everyone likes to go to the movies, go bowling, go to different activities with sports and so forth. And I don't know about anybody else, but my husband is very worried that football's not going to come this fall. And he's not sure what he will do if that happens. And, we're missing the Cardinals and being able to do some of those fun things that we're typically able to do. So connection has become kind of challenging, and you've seen the stories of people going and sitting outside of the nursing homes and trying to find some mechanism to connect. For me, my connections are largely my colleagues that I work with and my children and my husband. So it's been a little bit easier for me because I still have two girls at home and I have a sister who lives with me and of course my husband. But for those who I typically can turn to, I've had coffee with a friend or two. We've had to maintain our distance. We ordered in dinner one night in my office and sat far apart so that some of my colleagues and I could spend some time together. I connect with my fur babies. I've got way too many fur babies and I've been taking them on a walk and so forth. So, my daughter, who lives in Kansas City, on more than one occasion, because she couldn't travel here, we would do game night via same kind of platform that we're using here with Zoom. So people have been creative, but it hasn't always really fulfilled their deep need to be connected.
And how about you seeing patients? Are you seeing patients in your office yet, or are all your patients being seen on Zoom connections?
Primarily now, I'm seeing patients in the office, but I would say over half of my clients were being seen on Zoom, and several of them are still wanting to stay in a Zoom environment. That, as a professional, takes a little bit of getting used to. When you are very used to being connected, 4 or 5 feet apart because the person's sitting in your office, you have to really attune to them when you're in a Zoom platform or some other platform. And I didn't think it was going to be great, but I've honestly found that is really, I've had quite a bit of success feeling connected to my clients in that environment. Sometimes the younger kids and teens want things to happen more quickly. They struggled a little bit more than my adults did, but even they really requested that weekly contact.
Well, I think too in the offices that have a larger group space, I'm almost thinking that right now, for safety reasons, instead of more of a smaller office environment, maybe in those larger group rooms, you can put a couch on one side and you on the other, and then there's more like that 6 to 10 feet, and the patient feels a little bit not as closed in, where an office feels a little bit more closed in. So
I agree.
those are some areas to get creative, I think, for therapists that do and have the blessings of group space where they can just rearrange that group space and make it into a large office during this time anyway. But so with that, Mary, what would you say if you were to sit here today? I'm sure everybody's have changed. What would you say your personal dreams are for 2020? Like, I'm sure a lot of people make goals and dreams at the beginning of the year. Of course, a lot of people make their physical fitness dreams in January, and by March they're out the toilet. But now that we have a whole different arena of lifestyle, what would you say your dreams are now for 2020?
So it's interesting that you mentioned the fitness goals that start generally in January. Actually, I just received a portfolio of fitness goals that I'm hoping to be able to incorporate at home because I think that's a different way of looking at things with the COVID-19. And simple things like just being able to get kettlebells and use those in my bedroom versus doing something outside of the home. I'm dreaming that I will become more proficient and more, I don't know what the word is, but a little less hesitant with the online platforms because who knows whether or not we're going to have the same kind of situation that happens in the fall. I don't know that we'll ever go back to quote unquote normal. I don't think we're going to see that kind of previous type of environment that we had before, both in our personal lives and in our professional lives. So one of the things that I'm doing, because I am an eye movement desensitization reprocessing EMDR therapist, is doing a lot of studying to figure out how I can use that technique in a virtual platform and be able to serve my clients. So part of my goals is to expand my self-professional knowledge and then also just to be a little more creative, less thinking that everything has to be something we go to and just something more we sit and enjoy.
Yeah, it is true. I did an interview with a therapist right before you who was out of Atlanta, Georgia, and her and I were supposed to do a retreat in September in Branson, and we were talking about seeing if we could integrate it as a large Zoom on a big wide screen in a conference room, and her and her husband and son and his wife could zoom in because two of them live in Jacksonville, Florida, and two in Atlanta, and they're the lady is I'm 66. She's in a senior age, and her and her husband aren't sure they want to get on an airplane yet. So we're trying to figure out how can we still do the retreat remotely and still have it beneficial. And so me being an event manager, an event planner, I'm just trying to think outside of the box, how to make it successful and still have healing with people that feels like connection, and that's a challenge for me because I am a touchy feely, get in front of people, want to connect, give a hug, look into your eyes type of person. So doing all this stuff remotely has really been a challenge for me.
Well, at least you have a really pretty background that I kind of just sit here and think, oh, that's peaceful.
Well, and that kind of leads into, Mary, my last question on my connection part of my platform, which means connection, dream, and getaway experience. When this is all over and you and your family or peers or clients feel comfortable to travel again, what would a getaway experience look like for you? Where would it be, and what would the theme be? Who would it be with?
Who it would be with is easy. It's always my family. They kind of are my safe place, if you will. Um, we were talking about that over the weekend because I'm feeling a little wanderlusty. We typically go to the lake every year, but there's a part of me that really kind of wants to expand that and go someplace that we've not been before. Maybe Idaho, which is gorgeous. My father's from there, or perhaps Washington State. So I don't have firm plans. We do plan on going to the lake for a week, 4 days, and that's always very restful. I'm hoping that in July we can do that because it does regenerate all of us. And I'm also planting flowers and cleaning things up in my backyard so that if it is that we don't get to go anywhere but home, it still feels like a retreat.
Awesome. And do you have any dreams of getaway experiences in the next 6 months or year for yourself to do workshops or retreats with your client base or those who might follow you?
I haven't gotten anything concrete, but having gone to a Braveheart retreat in the past, which was very challenging for me to be willing to go to because I'm not very good at being vulnerable myself. I know that that's something I need to do. I would love to be able to do some kind of retreat that would also be helpful for my clients, and really be able to kind of peel some of the layers like an onion off of myself and help the clients do that as well.
Well, I personally am honored that you did come to a Braveheart workshop because I, for one, and I don't know what the audience feels like, but I seek out therapists who are willing and vulnerable and courageous and brave to do their own work. And it was amazing because at the last Braveheart workshop that you attended, that I was able to participate in as well in Nashville, we were blessed to have 4 professional therapists come, and I'm just like so honored and amazed at the willingness of professional therapists to go deeper in their own life because I just feel like how can you really connect authentically with clients if you're not willing to unpeel your own stuff, because I don't think that there's a person out there that doesn't have some kind of stuff in their
Hmm.
life. It may not be huge, but we all have burdens, all of us do. And a real typical one that I see over and over and over is the burden of perfectionism or busyness, um, in the workplace, where people are just filled with so much business that they don't take pause to really connect with self. So I'm really honored that you went. If you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit with the audience. Going to, but we keep the Braveheart workshops at a smaller audience of 10 to 14 attendees. And so going to your first Braveheart workshop and not really liking to be that vulnerable, what did connection feel like walking in the room amongst 12 strangers who you never met and you were about to release burdens in your life and knowing that some of them too were professional therapists? How did connecting feel at a Braveheart workshop?
Well, first of all, I think it's pretty incredible to talk about the fact that as an event planner, you had it down to a science. And it was amazing the kind of people that you put together. And so there was just an aura in the house, if you will, of peacefulness and willing to be there with other people and to really be present with them. And, the other therapist and I couldn't get enough really because we knew that it'd be stuff that we'd be able to take back home. But at the same time, we felt very connected to all of the participants and very connected from a very heart deep position of wanting to be present and helpful and evaluate what was our own stuff that we needed to work on that mirrored or paralleled what other people were working on. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, I think the thing that I love the most when I do these retreats with individuals that come is the follow-up 6 months later. I love to give phone calls to participants 6 months later and say, okay, when you came to the event, this is where you said you were at emotionally, within yourself, and what you worked on. And then when you left, most people leave with such a high because they've experienced so much connection and so much discovery of self. So I always like to ask people after they've attended, so with what you took home, did it stay with you, or do you feel like you're back to square one, or where are you at? And unequivocally, every single human being that comes has told me it's changed the trajectory of their life. I mean, twofold, 100-fold, to the point where, one participant who had struggled for years and years with their eating disorder, treatment center after another, finally recovered after one weekend doing the work. Another person indicated that their practice had never taken off and that their client base had tripled since the retreat, and that they could never connect with their family and look at them in the eyes, and now they're connecting and having great relationships. So, my heartbeat, Mary, has always been to come alongside of the hurting and anybody. I'm one of those that really believes in inclusivity. No matter what you believe, no matter who you are, I don't care if you're a Democrat, a liberal, a Republican. I don't care if you're black, white, green, or orange. To me, we're all humans, and to connect is imperative in my life. So that's why I started Braveheart Workshops, and I'm honored that you took the time to come for yourself.
It was amazing, and we, even as professional, or I should say as professionals, we recognize that 60% of the work is having that relationship. And at the workshop, those were built almost instantly and really helped to have the putting down of the burden, picking up the healing to be able to move forward.
Awesome. That's great. So another question I'd like to ask you, Mary, if indeed somebody had come to you and said, hey, you can't have any more apps on your cell phone, you only get to keep 2, what would be your 2 must-have apps on your cell phone or your computer?
There is an app called Abide, and it is a very good app for people who have anxiety or their mind tends to ruminate. It helps to really help individuals center, and that would be one that I would want to keep. And then probably Pandora, because I like to turn on music and sort of escape.
That's good. And the other one was called Bide, B-I-D?
Abide.
Abide.
A-B-I-D-E.
Abide. Okay, Abide. Well, that's good. I always like to hear about new apps. So I've been enjoying doing interviewing of leaders such as yourself, and I found some new apps that I never knew existed. One was called, I think it was called Schmoole, Schmule, and it's being able to do karaoke.
Oh no.
And it was like, and I didn't realize when I downloaded it, I had subscribed and it was going to be like $10 a month. So I downloaded it, tried it, and then took it off because I was like, oh, this is fun, but I can't afford $10 right now. So,
Right.
but it was like really cool. And I let it, I tried it with my little 7-year-old granddaughter who is just a performer and she's got a photographic memory. And, had her sing let it go, Frozen.
Oh,
And it was so funny because the words come across to help you sing it. She didn't need to look at the words. She had it down and instantaneously took off like she was a movie star. I mean, that if her parents would allow her to act, which they won't, she would be one of the best child actresses because she can memorize anything.
amazing.
Yeah, so Shmuel was a good one. So another question I'd like to ask you, Mary, what is one fun fact about you?
Oh, one fun fact is I would love to skydive before I move on from this earth.
Now that's a dream. So,
Okay,
so what's
fun
a fun
fact.
fact
Oh,
that you've already done?
I went to school my first 2 years in England.
Wow, that is a fun fact.
Yeah.
Wow, that must have been exciting.
Well, it was interesting. It was a Quaker school.
Okay.
They are very strict.
Okay, so you couldn't go out and party all night long.
No, I was only in the first and second grade, and they didn't like that I was left-handed, and they felt inclined to change my handwriting to the right hand.
So this is when you were a child.
Yeah,
I thought you meant as an adult you went there to study.
no, I
Okay.
did go to study the European social work system in graduate school, which was also fascinating.
Okay, so at that time you could go and explore, but in first, second grade, it wasn't like you were going out exploring. Okay.
No, no.
Well, what I'm going to do right now for the audience is put your bio up on the screen so that you have a way to be able to connect and contact Mary here if you are in the area. It has her website along with her email and her phone number. And again, she does the therapy with anxiety depressive disorders, post-traumatic stress, utilizes EMDR as a modality to help people overcome trauma and depression and anxiety in their lives. So thanks so much, Mary, for taking time out of your busy day. I know you've got clients today, and so being able to jump on for a Zoom and let the audience know who you are is truly an honor. So thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you, Jill. I appreciate it.
And I'd like to share with the audience before we close that Braveheart Workshops, the Connection Show, has decided to bring connection closer home to you. So on Monday evenings, we will be doing Zoom Lives every Monday night called the Connection Gathering, where you'll have an opportunity to jump on, meet people from all over the United States. We've got a couple of friends that have joined us last Monday from Canada, actually 2 ladies, one that was from Toronto and one was from the other side of Canada, and it turned out it was really funny. They were each living in the opposite cities that the other person lived in before. So it was kind of cool to connect with them. So that will be this evening. It's every single Monday evening. And we go live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 Central, 6 Mountain Standard Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, to get on to these Zoom gatherings, what you'll have to do is go to braveheartworkshops.com and then click on the contact form button and fill that out with your email address. As soon as I receive your email address through that contact form, I will send you the personal Zoom link with the password to join in the show this evening. So please go to braveheartworkshops.com now, fill out the form, and join us tonight, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. From Branson, Missouri, I'm signing off, and thank you so much, Mary. I hope if you're free tonight, you might join in so that others that talk to you today will be able to connect with you more on that platform. If you can't join us tonight, put it on your calendar for next Monday evening, because we will be doing this every single Monday. And on those Monday evenings, we will be changing the password just to keep your security safe. So please, as long as you give me your email, you'll always receive the link to the Zoom gathering. So thanks so much, and you guys all have a wonderful day. Thank you again, Mary.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now. Let's connect now. We can dream together to renew, restore, and reconnect with wellness in our life. Go to braveheartworkshops.com. Join me for weekly Zoom connections on Facebook at facebook.com Braveheart Workshops. Thanks so much for joining the show, and we look forward to seeing you on Monday nights.